Hey guys, welcome to another For the Painter Good paintings tutorial. My name's Sean and today we're going to look at how to paint Castellan Crowe, the latest character model I suppose that's been released for the Grey Knights, excluding the new Nemesis Grandmaster and Dread Knight armour. Grey Knights are one of these fantastic factions in Warhammer 40,000, originally the Demon Hunter Codex of 3rd or 4th edition I think it was here. Truly it's awesome to see them so expanded out now into their own range in 11th or in 10th edition I should say, and hopefully they'll get a bit of a refresh in 11th edition, as it was a bit disappointing not to see that. Today we're going to look at how to break this down nice and quickly, while hopefully being able to allow you to get a good looking army on the tabletop that you can use nice and handily. So what we've done is we've primed Castellan Crowe in lead belcher and we've sub-assembled his head and primed that in white scar. The first thing we're going to do here is we're going to throw a coat of Grey Knight steel over this armor here. So this will start off to give us that blue tint. And the Grey Knight steel is a really thin paint. I find it quite difficult to work with sometimes. I really like the way it looks, but it's not a paint I'm overly happy with the finish of, so we'll be doing some additional work to it here in that case. But as you can see here, take your time. As I said, I primed the whole model in lead belcher first, and we're throwing this over all of the armor that we want to be silver then in that case as well. Don't be afraid to throw over a couple of bits of the gold as well, because we're going to use that there in this case as well. So this is our Grey Knight steel coat added onto it here. You can see it's a really cool finish on it, to be honest with you. That was about 2 coats of it that I put on there. So that's obviously made it a little bit interesting. While I'm waiting on that Grey Knight steel to dry, because as I said, it's a very thin paint, so it takes a little bit of time, I'm going to throw a quick coat of Apothecary white over the helmet then in that case, just because this is going to be our white, and this will be effectively our shading that's going to go over the helmet then as well. So that would be really useful on that front as well then. Just give us that definition on the edges as well. Try to avoid any excess pooling on the finish and that kind of stuff. This is a really handy way of just getting the shading in there. You don't have to worry about it too much. You can see all that definition in that kind of Maltese cross on the cheek and in all the spots on the helmet as well there in that case. So we're back to our main model now in that case. And what we're going to do is we're going to throw some Space Wolves grey contrast, and this is going to add to that blue tone to the armor then in that case. And just this is straight from the pot, Space Wolves grey contrast. So we're just going to apply this all over the silver armor. And you can see here I'm not being particularly careful with it around the areas that are going to be like gold as well. Don't be afraid to throw it on them as well in that case, because we will be going back and adding some extra steps here in that case. But try and just aim for those parts that you're going to actually have being that kind of shining silver steel of the Grey Knights effectively here in that case. Castellan Crowe is obviously an awesome model as well here in that case. The inheritor of the demon sword Antweir, which is obviously just a demon contained within the blade. Basically he's the latest warden of this blade, which is really cool. I'm actually currently reading his book about how he becomes the warden of the blade, and hence the title of the book is actually the Warden of the Blade. So there's that Space Wolves grey contrast all applied to the armor there. It looks really good. I'm really happy with it now. What we're going to do now is we're going to take some white scar here. There's a lot of bits of this model that are actually white scar as well. The helmet is obviously the first part, which we've taken care of in the initial priming stages, and then the other part is actually this shoulder pad here on the left shoulder pad. I guess it'll appear on the right on camera, but it's actually the left shoulder pad. So we're just going to apply this around obviously the internal parts of the shoulder pad. Do be careful trying not to nick any of the internal parts. It's not the end of the world if you do, because we're doing some work to them. We're also going to apply it over the flames that are on his back banner. Those flames are actually in white as well. They're actually in that case, so we're going to apply it onto them as well then, and it just helps to create a little bit of difference then against that red that's going to be all over that back banner effectively. The white is going to stand out as really nice and stark against the red, and then we'll have that lovely synergy then between the white of the helmet, the white of the flames, and the white of the shoulder pad. It'll all blend together and look of a similar tone then in that case. So you can see here I'm just taking my time. Don't worry about being too careful on the banner here and that kind of thing. I'm being quite careful about it, but don't worry about being too careful. We are going to jump in and do the banner in red obviously. So we can touch up a few of this with a red, but just make sure that when you're doing it, don't be unnecessarily messy. Here you go, you can see I've done a reasonable job at it. I didn't spend too long doing it, but it's just a simple coat of white scar. I had to do 2 coats, by the way, of white scar on this, just over the silver. So next up, we're going to use a 50-50 mix this time of Apothecary White and Contrast Medium. I don't want to dull that white down too much and that kind of thing, and obviously the finish from the pot is slightly different from the finish of the rattle can, so just put that over the flames and the shoulder pad as well. Just gives us that definition again then in that case. So now we're going to jump up to the second last step of that silver armor then in that case, just while we're waiting on the white to dry here. So we've got our pot of Stormhost Silver here, and what we're going to do is we're just going to take this and we're going to layer up all the parts of the armor that are silver. Now just aim for the silver parts when we're doing this. This is the key part of this. Don't touch anything that was gold, that's going to be gold in the final finish here that we've had before, right? The idea behind it is we can now do an extra step to differentiate the gold from the silver, but we don't want the gold to look like this shining Stormhost Silver here that I'm applying onto the armor here. Stormhost Silver will give us that lovely bright reflective silver that we're looking for in that case, but we want that Space Wolves Grey contrast to stay in the recesses of the gold here, and I'll show you why in the next step here. In that case, we're going to use a particular kind of cheat code so that you don't have to go around with a Retributor armor the whole time on absolutely everything, because that could take a lot of time here in that case. So again, just take your time, go through it, stay away from those recesses that we've put that lovely Space Wolves Grey contrast, because that's effectively been our shade for this armor as well as getting the blue tint up there. So you can see I'm just taking my time. I'm going to hit every part of the armor here that's going to be silver, and we're just gonna get through it. It's nice. It's quite a therapeutic process sometimes layering up power armor. I find just going with an actual kind of plates of the armor. Here you go. So that's the silver applied. It looks really good. It stands out beautifully, I think, there, and the Space Wolves Grey in the recesses just looks really, really nice as well. So next up here, we're going to jump up to Mephiston Red. This is going to be our first base coat for all of the red components of the armor here in that case as well. So we're going to do the cape, the banner, any purity seals, and then obviously the covers of any books as well. And he has a lot of books on him, by the way. He has a lot of paper, a lot of parchment, and a lot of books. So there's quite a bit of red actually to do on him here. And I find that when you start blocking in the red and the cream and the gold, that's kind of what brings them together. The silver looks good, but you can see here I'm just taking my time, just layer up the cape, try and stay away from the armor again, try not to nick it. We've done all our hard work on the armor, we don't want to undo it and that kind of thing. But Mephiston Red goes on really nicely. It's not a difficult paint to work with, just take your time. I just thin it with water on a wet palette the same way anyone else would basically, and that kind of thing, and I just layer it up nicely and that kind of stuff. I do use 2 coats of Mephiston Red, by the way, just to get that good finish over the Retributor armor as well here. So you can see this is me jumping onto the back banner now that I've already done the cape here in that case. I'll also be filling all the purity seals with that red as well, then the Mephiston Red. I've also recently been playing the game Chaos Demon Gate, I think it is, Chaos Hunters Demon Gate, where you actually play using a Grey Knight's kill team. It's quite an underrated game, I thought. It was really good. I really thoroughly enjoyed it, if I'm going to be totally honest with you here actually. I can't say I'm particularly good though. I played a mission last night and actually my entire kill team got wiped basically and that kind of thing by a huge wave where actually your only mission was to have no critical injuries, so I failed miserably here. So, but my video game prowess isn't why we're here today. So here you go, 2 coats of Mephiston Red. You can see I've even done the book that was on his hip there, and also the inside of the eye that's on the white shoulder pad, the Inquisitorial eye in that case as well here. So next up is just a nice kind of easy step here. We're going to jump up to Black Legion. There's only really 2 parts of this whole model that we're going to really hit with Black Legion. The first part is we're going to hit his Stormbolter that's mounted on the right wrist here. So just make sure you fill the gun casing in. It's a nice easy step. It flows really lovely. I'm a huge fan of Black Legion contrast, to be honest with you. It is my go-to black paint to use in a quick situation. It's really good, to be honest with you. I still like Abaddon Black. I still layer up every now and then using Corvus Black, and I still like Black Templar as well. But for me, for a quick coat of good even black all over, something that I just want to get done quickly, the Black Legion is my go-to color. And then what we're also going to do is apply this over the sword that's on the banner here as well, the sword that's supposed to represent Antwer. So we're going to apply that over the sword there. Try and avoid, the sword has a few rows of chains going across it. Try and avoid them. The idea behind that is then that we just don't have to worry about going back in with another silver. We've already got a good coat of lead belcher on there. We'll throw a shade over the whole banner and that kind of thing as well, which is good. And then we're gonna sort that out that way then. So we're gonna jump up to Ushabti Bone here. This does take a while. This I think and the red are some of the more finicky stages of the armor. The silver you can understand because it's the biggest part of the armor. But as you can see here, he's got a lot of parchment, a lot of scrolls, a lot of pages of books, a lot of banners that go across him and that kind of thing. So this all takes time to layer up basically and that kind of stuff. So I've used the Ushabti Bone here. Again, 2 coats is the way to go, I think, on this one here. Ushabti Bone doesn't have to be your choice of colour, by the way. Screaming Skull will do a good job here. Any kind of cream kind of parchment color will do a job nicely here for you. You can even go Wraithbone and shade it again if you want as well, depending on what your scheme is here. I've just picked Ushabti Bone because I like it as a parchment color actually. In that case, I think it hits that nicely. And if you're really picky about wanting to do an edge highlight as well, Screaming Skull is a nice jump up from Ushabti Bone then that differentiates it a little bit. Take your time here in this case. We've done a lot of hard work to that red to get it up to that stage. We've done a lot of work to that silver to get to that stage here. So just take your time. 2 layers again, 2 thin coats. It sounds silly, but it is always what they do, isn't it? 2 thin coats, and that's what I would recommend in this case for a lot of steps on this model here, just to get a good smooth coat and that kind of stuff. Just thin your paints, but geez, it looks good, doesn't it? It looks good when you finally block in all that cream and start to see the red come to life and all that kind of thing as well here. In that case, it looks really good. So for this next step here, now I apologize I didn't put a pot in front of the camera there just to show you guys. We're going to do my cheat code here for the gold on Grey Knight's armor here. So my cheat code for the gold on Grey Knight's armor here is snakebite leather over the silver bits that we've left. So this is specifically why I said don't hit the silver bits that we're going to turn gold with Stormhold silver, because we're going to throw snakebite leather over. Now with the snakebite leather, it turns it gold immediately, then basically just shades the silver into gold. Less is more with this, is my opinion on it. Basically, if you go darker, you'll end up more like an Iron Warrior brassy kind of trim color. Now your way to get around that is you could just use a brighter silver underneath it. So if you did hit it with Stormhold silver, don't worry, it's absolutely fine. But that's just my personal tips on it as well. I would rather do less is more, because I can always apply more afterwards to darken it further. I can't take away what I've already put on basically in that case. So take your time. This will stain any silver you put on, it'll stain any parchment or anything like that as well. So just be mindful of all that as you're applying it, but it goes on really, really nicely. You can see already, like it, because we've actually left that Space Wolves grey sitting within the recesses where you can see the lettering on the leg, for example there. You can see that we really have that definition there where the letters come out from the recesses as well. It's really good. You can see I've put it on all the items that are on his belt there, around the name that goes around the gorget, just below the neck. You can see I'm putting it across the eye and that kind of thing as well. It really brings this model together. Look at that. I mean, that's really good. I've applied it obviously across the back banner as well, up at the top there as well. I'm going to hit the skull just at the back here as well, just with a quick hit of it as well, because that was a step that I nearly forgot. But you can see just how well it comes together basically. It looks the part. Now we'll jump to our Retributor armor. Rather than layering this all across it, where it would take us ages and we'd have to be really mindful of the silver there and that kind of thing, what we're actually going to do is we're going to use the silver to provide like spot highlights nearly on where we're doing it. So you can see I'm just taking my brush, I'm going to rub it along the edge for a subtle edge highlight, and it'll just give us the indication of light on the kind of darker snakebite leather. So you can see there I put it on the kind of trinket item, or I can't remember what the name is, I really do apologize, the item that's hanging from his belt with the 2 skulls in it. I've just done 2 kind of small dots on the top of the skulls, and I've highlighted one side of it to show the presence of light coming down from one side then in that case as well. And you can see I'm just taking my time. We're just do take your time going through it. If you want to be really fancy with this, and I have done this on 1 or 2 of my Grey Knights models, you can highlight the tops of some of the letters that are actually engraved into like shoulder pads and that kind of thing. I chose not to do it on this because I really kind of want this to be quite an accessible painting tutorial for you guys as well. And then once we've actually gone and finished with the Retribute armor, by the way, we've actually also applied a coat of Agrax Earthshade all over the red and the bone parchment as well then, basically, in that case. And so I apologize that I've not shown that step here actually. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to jump up to the next stage of the red, which is the Evil Sun Scarlet highlight over all our red that we've done here in that case. So you can see here, I'm going in with a Evil Sun Scarlet here. Take your time, we're going across the cape here. I'm doing a feathering motion to create almost like a texture of fabric on the cape here. You can see here, it's just lots of like little feathering here. It just creates that false impression of fabric nearly in that case as well, which I think looks really good. This is actually my first time trying to do something like that here in that case. We'll do it on the inside of the cape as well, the cover of the book on his hip. You could do a selective highlight over all the purity seals as well at certain points on the outsides of the purity seals, a little kind of edge highlight if you will. And then don't forget to do obviously the whole banner then as well in that case. Try and keep away from those recesses. We don't want to touch that Agrax Earthshade that's in those recesses. We want to leave that in there, keep those recesses nice and dark, but we brighten up the rest of the cape to pump up that red then basically in that case. And I think it looks really good. So there you go. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start the part that I found most, I don't know, the part I was most stumped at to start with basically, which is the sword, of course, Antwer the demon sword, which Garin Crowe wields, sorry. So we're going to take a pot of Vallejo fluorescent magenta then in that case, and what we're going to do is we're going to throw it all over the sword here in that case. It flows quite nicely over the silver. It looks really bright here. It will darken when it dries, so don't worry about this. This looks very poppy at the moment basically. This will darken as it dries effectively here, and the magenta will seep into those runes that are on the sword as well in that case, so it will step out a little bit, but just apply a coat of this all over the blade of the sword. You can see we've already hit like the hilt of the sword with the snakebite leather and that kind of thing as well. So this is what it looks like when it's kind of started to dry now in that case. It looks really good. It will take a little bit to dry, I found. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to paint the eye of the helmet while we're waiting here. So again, just to jump up to Frostheart, this is the same trick as I do on most of my helmets. I've done it on my White Scars, I've done it on Iron Warriors with different colours. Just a little hit of this contrast over it, but because we've already started with White Scar, we just don't need to add the White Scar into the eyes here, so nice and handy. This is our last step now that we're going to do on the armour, which is just a really quick edge highlight of Runefang steel in that case. Now, I did debate about actually doing this all over the armor, so guys, let me know what you think in the comments here. Should the Runefang steel have actually gone on as another kind of like armor highlight, or were you okay with it as an edge highlight? I'm still kind of torn on it myself, to be honest with you. I kind of bounced back and forth on my Grey Knight scheme quite a lot. I have a Combat Patrol I painted a certain way, but just let me know. So that's the edge highlight applied there. I think it still looks really good, but just give me a shout and let me know what you think on it there in the comments below, because I always appreciate your feedback. I got some good feedback as well about some of my camera and my lighting and that kind of stuff, so guys, I really do appreciate that. Please don't be afraid to give me any feedback. I'm happy to take everything on board here and try and make some good content. There's no point in having a library of content that you just can't use because you think the content is poor at it. So do let me know. I'm going to jump up to Shyish Purple now. We're going to use this in 2 separate ways. So the first way we're going to do is we're going to actually apply it all over the rock that Castellan Crowe is standing on here, basically, in that case. So just apply it all over. We're going to do this to give the impression of like a demon earth that he's standing on effectively here. You can see I've done that snakebite leather on the chaotic symbol that's coming up, or the chaotic icon that's rising up out of the ground. That's the Shyish Purple applied all over there, which looks really good. Now, The second part that we're going to do is we're going to thin down the shyish purple. I would personally go one part shyish purple to 4 parts contrast medium here in that case. And it nearly creates like a glaze consistency rather than actually the shyish purple. It really dilutes it down basically, which is what we want here in that case, right? And we're going to take our time and apply it over the flames, right? So on the first coat, what we're going to do is we're going to go all the way right down to the blade where the flames start. Now don't actually go onto the blade, if that makes sense. Try and just get it from where the flames are actually starting and drag it up and away from the blades, away from the actual blade of the sword and up into the flames and the smoke that come off of it here basically. And what we're gradually going to do is kind of like glazing is going to be my closest kind of comparison to it, and please don't be intimidated by that. Glazing is just using a paint that's like really thin effectively here, but we're just going to change the distance ever so slightly from the blade. So you can see here on the second run, I'm not going right down to where the flames start in the blade. I'm starting maybe a little bit further out from there, maybe about like, I don't know, maybe like a 1/4 of an inch or 1/2 of an inch basically away. And then I did a third coat of that as well, starting at the tips of a lot of the flames and then going all the way back. So that looks really good. So here you can see I've put the head on, he's coming together well now, and we're just going to base him up. So I've used a very aptly named AK Demon Earth for this. I really love the color of this, by the way. I used this on my Black Templar guy as well, but I shaded it with Dirty Violet at the time. I'm not actually going to do any shading to this because I actually just love the way the cool blue sits out against the actual silver of the Grey Knight armor here in that case. So here we're just going to apply this all over here in that case, and it looks really good now. It's starting to, he really came together the more we've done those steps, which is really excellent there in that case. So just take your time, do be careful, don't worry about building up onto that rock as well. I'm going to obviously rim the base in black as well then in that case. And here's some still images. So guys, let me know what you think. Obviously give me any thoughts or feedback or anything like that down in the comments below. As always, like and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching and have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.